Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac, and on Saturdays this summer I'm doing some deep dives on single topics. Today let's take a look at Kill Tony, which premiered when, everybody? June 3rd, 2013. This is not an overnight success.
I find it ironic when fat people wear t-shirts promoting fitness. The other day I saw a guy wearing a Nike shirt that said, "There is no finish line." And so I just came to the assumption he wears that to the Golden Corral.
If you were trying to explain Kill Tony to somebody who'd never heard it or seen it, the easiest shortcut is to say it's a comedy competition show, and that shortcut is wrong in almost every way that matters. Technically, yes, people come up, they do a minute, Tony Hinchcliffe and the band, and whoever the guest is that week react to it. Sometimes people get brought back. There's a structure, but calling Kill Tony a competition show is like calling the Comedy Store a building where comedians perform. It's accurate, but it misses the point. The thing that Kill Tony actually is, the reason it fills arenas now, the reason comedians fly themselves out to Austin to sit in the audience on the chance they might get pulled, the reason it has become one of the more genuinely interesting things happening in comedy right now is because Kill Tony is actually a live document of what stand-up comedy looks like at every level simultaneously, from the open micer who's been doing it for 4 months and who's terrified and is going to get mocked, to whoever the guest might be that week. Could be Shane Gillis. Could be Ron White. Could be Joe Rogan. All that in real time, no editing, no polish, without the safety net that TV puts under everything. Sounds simple, not simple. Most attempts to capture comedy in its raw state end up either feeling too curated to feel real, Kevin Hart's recent show had a little bit of that, or too chaotic to be watchable. Kill Tony's neither of those things, and the reason it isn't is because of Tony Hinchcliffe. Now, think about Tony. Tony's an interesting person to have become the center of the biggest comedy show in America because his public profile outside of Kill Tony is unusual. He's known as a roast writer, one of the best in the business, arguably the best working right now.
Bert Kreischer is a king. He looks like if the Tiger King and the Liver King only ate Burger King and had a liver that looked like Martin Luther King got beat up by Rodney King.
Roast writers usually are behind the camera. They're the people that write the joke that destroys someone at the Friars Club or on Comedy Central or on the Netflix roast now, and then they sit in the back while the celebrity gets the credit and the clip goes viral. Tony has broken out of that.
Nikki Glazer, what a performance tonight, am I right? Absolutely killer set. Nikki, who wrote that? Where was that your entire career? Nikki has such a bad eating disorder, the industry keeps shoving her down our throat. You might recognize her from her podcast appearances, specials, and winning the Triple Crown at Churchill Downs.
It's his sensibility as a roast writer, the precision, the willingness to go somewhere that makes the room uncomfortable, the understanding of exactly how far you can push something before it stops being funny. All that makes him good at hosting Kill Tony. He knows how to read a room. He knows how to find the thing about a person that's the most interesting to poke at, underrated skill. He knows how to be mean in a way that's entertaining rather than just cruel, also a very specific skill that most people who think they have don't have. You got to appreciate Kill Tony as a host. Hosting that show is one of the harder jobs in comedy. You're dealing with open micers who might completely fall apart. You're dealing with big guests who have their own energy, their own agenda. You're managing the live band. You're keeping, whether it's 400 or 4,000 people or MSG engaged throughout an episode that might run 3 hours. No script. The comp is in some ways Howard Stern. Howard, credited with being the greatest radio host who ever lived because of his ability to make 4 hours of live radio feel like it's moving along. Tony does something similar in a comedy show. He doesn't get enough credit for how hard that is to do. Now, let's not underestimate the Rogan connection. The Rogan connection is real. Yes, Rogan is a friend of Tony's. Yes, Rogan has appeared on Kill Tony. Yes, Kill Tony's based in Austin. And Kill Tony moving from LA to Austin is not unrelated to the fact that Rogan moved to Austin and took a big chunk of the comedy ecosystem with him. But again, Kill Tony started in 2013 as a small live show. The premise, simple. 1 minute, a button gets pushed, time's up. And what Tony has figured out over years of doing it is that the format is infinitely generative. No 2 minutes are the same, because the range of people who show up to do their minute is so wide, you never know what you're going to get. The combination of a strict format and completely unpredictable content creates the tension that keeps the show moving, even when individual parts aren't that great. And there's a lot of individual moments that are not great. That's part of the show.
I know what you're thinking. Why is my GTA drug dealer on stage right now? Ooh, that cough was rough. A little bit. Plane crashes are rough, right? Can we agree that they're bad? But I actually think they're the perfect opportunity to get something off your bucket list. Because in that 1 minute before touchdown, you get away with anything. You are a video game character. You know what I do in that opportunity? When Abuelita and Nana, they're praying for salvation, for a miracle, I'm going to get out of my seat and I'm going to punch a kid right there.
Okay.
Right.
Wow. Hi over here, buddy. How are you?
What's going on?
I'm your worst nightmare. Look over here. Just keep looking at me. Don't get distracted. Your ADD is
kicking
cost
in
you
right
everything.
now.
Oh, there you go. You just said something else. Look at you. One of the absolute worst performances imaginable. Doing everything backwards, coming out, calling the crowd ugly, getting sidetracked by a very light, normal cough by someone in the second row that nobody in the back of the room could hear. You had to describe it as rough. That cough was rough.
Yeah.
You got sidetracked there, and then you talked about plane crash as a punchlineless bit about how you would punch someone else's kid because you were punched by your parents, but you're punching another person's kid.
Yeah, the cycle of abuse needs to keep going, I'm perpetuating.
You missed one, Tony.
Well, you just abused 330 people here tonight.
The years of grinding that show in LA, building the audience slowly, figuring out what worked, what didn't. That's the part of the Kill Tony story that gets skipped when people just go, yeah, Rogan. What the move to Austin did do was concentrate a massive comedy talent in one place that made Kill Tony's guest roster suddenly and dramatically better on a consistent basis. When your friend is Joe Rogan, everybody's in the same city, and Joe's got the club, that helps. Let's also look at the comedy scene that coalesced in Austin, the people who either live there or pop in there a lot in the Roganverse. Rogan, of course, Shane Gillis, Theo Von, Bert Kreischer, somewhat in the orbit, Ron White. All that created conditions where Kill Tony could pull a remarkable guest almost any week it wanted to. As I'm recording this, let me just scroll down some recent episodes. Tom Segura, Shane Gillis, Ari Shaffir, Jelly Roll, Theo Von, Jeff Ross. I mean, those are some great guests, especially for this particular format. When you have Bill Burr sitting next to Tony Hinchcliffe watching an open micer do their minute, and then Bill Burr gives his reaction, you're getting an education in how a working professional at the highest level of the craft thinks about comedy. You're hearing a Bill Burr type explain why something worked or didn't work, what he would have done differently, what the bit is actually about underneath what the person thought it was about. You can't get that in a class. You can't write that down anywhere. It's the oral tradition of stand-up happening in public, and it's one of the valuable things that Kill Tony does that nobody really planned for it to do.
I would just say just slow down a little bit.
Okay.
Just slow down a little bit, and just the more you do your jokes, the more they'll come off natural, and you won't be like, I don't know, if you were in your head trying to remember them. I remember like I was like in my notebook for the first year and a half, and I would just be like having a teleprompter go. So I would just slow down a little bit.
Okay. Cool.
That's it. It's not a threat. It's just,
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Madison Square Garden. This is a show based in Austin, Texas. So while I have a lot of great New Yorkers scattered throughout the show, my two guests live with us in Austin, Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing first, make some noise for one of the best comedians in the world. This is Shane Gillis. Oh my God. Shane is back. And why don't we keep that energy going for the great and powerful Joe Rogan.
Now there are the arena shows. That's where things get pretty interesting for Kill Tony. Arenas. Madison Square Garden. A show that is a live podcast about open micers filled the garden. The arena shows are built around a kind of spectacle, production value, lighting, the sense of an event. What Tony figured out is that scale doesn't actually break the format, it amplifies it, because the open micer doing their minute in front of 10,000 people is a fundamentally different kind of moment than doing it in front of 400. The stakes are higher, the silence when something doesn't land is deeper, the explosion when something works is bigger. The format, designed to create tension and pressure and reaction, actually benefits from scale in a way most formats don't. There are comedians working today who can trace a significant portion of their current audience directly to a Kill Tony appearance, not a guest appearance, the 1 minute appearance. 1 minute that landed, got clipped, got shared, showed up in the algorithm, and got watched by people who are already Kill Tony fans. The historical analogy is actually The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. But Kill Tony does it faster and more organically and without the filter of a booker deciding that you're ready or not. The comedians who are taking Kill Tony seriously as a career move, who are flying to Austin, who are working on their minute the way you'd work on a late night set, understand that one great moment in front of Tony's audience is worth more than 100 great minutes in front of a club audience that doesn't have a streaming component. And then there's Tony himself, a comedian who's primarily known for the show rather than a persona. If you ask most people what Tony Hinchcliffe's stand-up is like, they'll say dark, precise, roasty. But the stand-up isn't what they think of. They think about Kill Tony. It's a trade-off he seems to have made consciously. There are comedians who would, no pun, kill to have what Tony has. Platform with that reach, big audience, weekly presence, Netflix. And then there are comedians who would never trade the freedom of a stand-up career for the responsibility of running a big show like Kill Tony. Now, did he plan all this? That probably gives him too much credit. More likely, he found a format he liked, did it for a few years, got lucky in some of the timing and the geography, and built something that happened to be exactly what the comedy audience was looking for, without necessarily knowing they were looking for it. It's usually how the things at last get built. Kill Tony is good enough. The audience found it, and now it fills arenas. You can comment on this episode in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast Group, or on Spotify. Comments are open. And follow the show on Spotify. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. I'll be back tomorrow with a normal episode. I'll see you then.